Welcome to HTM Insider. I'm Sherelle with Multi Medical Systems, and today I'm really pleased to bring you Nader Hammoud of John Muir Health. And I'm going to give Nader a few minutes to introduce himself in case you haven't met him before, and just so we know what his background is. Hello, how are you?
Hi, thank you, Cheryl, for having me. Um, my name is Nader Hammoud. I'm a biomedical engineer. I have 3 degrees in biomedical engineering. I have an MBA. I've been doing this since 2001, so that's 20 years now. I started my career in Lebanon in the Middle East and moved to the United States in 2012. Um, I've been doing the same thing, managing biomedical engineering departments, and I was also consultant at the same time for equipping and designing hospitals. Um, Today, I am managing the biomedical engineering department, all healthcare technology management at John Muir Health. Um, I am a co-chair of the education committee with the ACCE, American College of Clinical Engineers, and a member of the Technology Management Council, TMC, with Amy. And at any opportunity I can help this field, I'm always there. So I'm happy to be with you here, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah, happy to have you on. We've known each other quite a few years now.
Yeah.
I can recall a CMIA meeting back in Sacramento one time when we first met. I
Yeah.
think I thought you had to play blackjack.
Yes, you did.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you today about something I know that you are extremely passionate about, is the difference between biomed, healthcare technology management, and IT, and how they can work together or how they're working differently. So let's just start that off, right? Like, what is the difference between IT in a hospital and biomedical engineers in that department?
Yeah, that's a great question, and this is a really interesting topic, and we need to be aware of those differences and how to tackle it. Um, Start by answering your question. What's the difference? IT are educated and they learn through their education and through their training all the aspects of IT and how to follow the processes and how to perform tasks in a very process driven way. And they are very good at doing it. Biomed, when what we get in our education, we study anatomy and physiology, we study electronics, we study electricity in different forms, we study mechanics in different forms. So all of our focus and education is focused towards the human body and how to help the human body, how to engineer things to help the human body. So the focus ever since the education piece is totally different. We are thinking of patients, human body, and how to help the human body. And IT are focused on processes, improvements, how to get to the next code, how to eliminate bugs, how to make sure it's secured. Now you bring those two people, put them in a healthcare organization, and they have to work together. You will see that they are extremely repelled from each other, and it's systematic everywhere. In any organization you go, you will find those two teams. They are not the closest that they should be, because IT is process driven. They have to follow their processes. Biomed is extremely the opposite. They are not process driven, they are event driven. We follow when there's an event, we rush to address the event. If there is a process, we might follow it, but it's not our Bible. We will jump loops, we will avoid things, we will trick systems to make sure to get to the final result, which is a safe device that's available for treating a patient that might save his life.
Right.
This is our ultimate goal. From an IT perspective, they receive the call. Their focus is to make sure that this device is cyber safe and it's running the latest patch and it has the latest updates. They cannot link that to the patient.
Yeah. So what's it going to take to get on a same page at your facility? What's been your experience to get IT and biomed on the same page? How do you get in the same room and come to that end result being cyber safe and patient safe?
Yeah, you might be surprised by this simple answer. It's communication.
Mhm.
Because of the lack, because of the gap in understanding of the roles, Biomed has always been focused on that patient side, and they always see IT as the ones who has no clue what's happening on site, and they do not understand the importance of what's happening, and they do not understand why we're doing how we're doing it. And the same thing on the IT, they see Biomed as a disconnected department. They're disorganized. They do not follow orders. They do not follow processes. They run things on their own, and they always cause issues to IT because they always do things without proper planning and processes and following the proper flow. Because of that, there was a huge absence of communication between these two departments. They're not even willing to communicate. So when any organization I walked into, including my current organization, when I started exploring that, let's have a meeting, let's discuss. Why do you want to talk from both sides? We don't have anything to talk with them. All I need from them is when I call them to respond, and don't tell me you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks. I want them immediate response. And you go to IT, we need to meet with you and talk. Why do you need to meet with us? We don't need to work with you. We are fine on our own. We don't need you. You're a mess. I don't want to deal with you. So that gap and lack of communication created that repulsion. Once you start meeting and talking to these guys and learn from them, and talking as a healthcare technology specialist, professional,
Mhm.
start talking to them and learn from them, learn why they do what they do and how they do it, and share with them what you do and how you do it and why you do it. You will be surprised that you all have the same goal, the same purpose, but you do it in a different way. And that can be a strength if you actually know how to play with it and drive it properly. So
Sure.
we need their processes and their organization, and they need our ability and availability next to the patient. They will be scared to approach a device next to a patient or do anything to a device attached to a patient. We're not, because this is our area. So working together and communication can start eliminating that and making it clear.
So in your organization, I know it varies across the country. Who is IT reporting to and who is biomed reporting to in your structure? And what do you see in the movement?
In our department, in our organization here now, we report to operations. So we do not report to IT. I've worked in previous organizations that I reported to IT. And so there is no best answer. There is no right way or wrong way, simply because regardless if you're reporting to IT or not reporting to IT, the communication is still the key. I reported to IT and there was no communication, and we still struggle in our relationship with IT. The key is that communication, that understanding, that sharing knowledge between the two, and making sure that we all care for the same purpose, which is patient care. If you're reporting to IT, you still need to have that same type of communication with the IT folks, because they're still disconnected from you. You're not, even though you're at the higher level, maybe you're one department, but at the operational level, you're not. You're separate. You're still separate. It doesn't make a difference. So it's
So
the same.
with your staff and IT staff, do you see your team working cohesively with the IT team, or is it really kept at a management level, or how are your guys getting along with their guys? Is there any tension there?
There was, and thankfully we were able to pass that. I would contribute this to the higher level thinking of some of the IT managers that I've worked with. They were able to understand where we're coming from, and I was able to understand where they're coming from. So to answer your question, it has to be kind of a mesh. It has to be both management working together and the teams working together. It has to be both. It cannot be just the management and the management now deploying their engineers and their engineers is waiting, going back to their management. It has to be both. So both having the same focus, calling each other to meetings, if I'm dealing with something and it has anything to do with IT or touching the network, I will stop everything. I need IT to be there, not because this is how it should be, but because this is the right thing to do. They're the experts. And the same thing, we were able to evolve to that point that when IT is working on anything, integrating, changing the network on a device, anything that they're doing, it involves, it touches a medical device. They never cared about that before, but now they say, stop, did we involve Biomed? Let's notify Biomed. So then they will work with my engineers, management on both sides are aware, and we work together. So there is, I would say there's zero tension. And actually we really appreciate that great relationship with them now because they bring so much to the table that we were lacking.
You come from a large facility, and I know you worked in prior large facilities and organizations. How do you see this affecting like the smaller hospitals, the rural hospitals, that facilities is actually running their day-to-day operation and they're outsourcing biomed staff and maybe outsourcing IT? Do you see more of a struggle there for those folks as far as everybody on the same page?
Definitely, I would say it's different. So when we say outsourcing, then you start talking about different perspective, different vision, because the outsourcing companies, they don't share the same passion and vision as the in-house biomeds or IT. The outsourcing companies, they always have metrics and they need to hit those metrics because their contract is based on those metrics. I know that they will do their best. I'm not gonna speak bad of them, but they are obligated by their contract. As long as they're fulfilling their contract, that's it for them. They don't have to go above and beyond. So that's going to be really hard for either parties, either teams to build a better relationship or to evolve that relationship when it's being outsourced in either way. In Muir, we did outsource our IT department to a huge organization, Optum, but it wasn't actually outsourcing. It was more kind of a new type of collaboration. But the good thing is the teams that we were working with, they're still the same team, and they're still, their only focus is this organization, and they're doing a great job, and we really appreciate that, the added value. Now for the rural organizations, healthcare organizations, or smaller organizations, it varies on the size and how uh, how how deep the leadership of the organization want to invest in either or IT or biomed. Because I've seen organizations here, not in a rural area, here in the Bay Area. It's a decent sized hospital, 150 to 100 beds, with one biomed, one single biomed. So they've opted to say that, okay, let's do contracts, and all that you have to do is just manage those contracts. You cannot expect from that person to evolve that relationship with IT and take it to the next level. He's just kind of contracts manager. So it depends on the organization, their vision, how they want to proceed, and at the same level, the involvement on both parties, biomed and IT, in the market, in the society. Are they involved? Are they aware of what's happening? Are they attending conferences? That's a key point. Do they know what's happening? Do they know Sherelle? Do they know someone else? Have they met them in conferences? Have they listened to their concerns and what's happening in the market, so they can bring it back as a best practice and evolve their departments? So multiple aspects affect that. It doesn't really necessarily depends on how small or big or rural or not rural. Totally different than if it's outsourced though.
All right, I see that. So you brought up a good idea of conferences. Are your IT personnel there at Muir, are they attending the same conferences that you're attending? Or do they have separate medical conferences that they attend?
I am not sure, to be honest. I know like HIMSS, this year at least, I didn't see any from our IT departments going there. Maybe because of COVID. I know lots of people didn't go, lots of my colleagues and other organizations, they didn't go because of COVID, so I cannot rule that. Do they have other conferences, I would guess so. I hope so. I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not an expert in their field, but from our side, I do my due diligence and I make sure that I go and attend to bring back that information, and I would share with these guys about what opportunities we have, and they're open because it's getting us to a better place.
Right. And it's protecting your hospital and your patients, right?
Yes, exactly.
So where do you see the gray area? Where's the gray area? If you had to like paint a picture, where would be that middle zone that you cross over, or it's just not known yet?
So maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would say there was a gray area. Today, I don't see any gray area, to be honest. And as I say, some people will not like it, especially on the healthcare technology side. When we see gray area in the relationship between biomed and IT, it means someone is trying to avoid taking responsibility. It's really simple. There shouldn't be gray areas. And we were able to resolve this at Muir by very simple definition. Anything that has anything to do with a medical device, it's the healthcare technology's responsibility. I don't care what it is. Connecting to the network, connecting to wireless, changing IPs, changing configuration, whatever it is, it's a medical device. It's the biomed's responsibility. Now, who's going to be performing that task? Most probably it's IT or networking. Then it's the biomed's job to dispatch and request from IT to perform that task. And then the biomed's job is to ensure that everything was done, everything is working. This way, it's simple. We are customers to IT. They cannot do anything to the medical device unless they receive a request from Biomed. It's not that Joe somewhere in the upper floors, he wants to connect his ultrasound to the wireless, and he calls his friend in IT, hey, can you come hook it up and connect it to the wireless? And they come show up and connect it to the wireless, and then it's not sending, and then they call Biomed, the ultrasound is not sending. Why it's not sending? But it's not plugged to the wall. Oh yeah, but it's sending wirelessly now. We changed it to wireless. We cannot let this happen.
Right.
You need to change it to wireless. It's a medical device. Even if you reach out to his IT counterpart or colleague, the IT will say, it's a medical device. Send the request to Biomed. We receive the request. We identify we need to do this, not need to do this, and then we will dispatch the same guy. We need your
Gotcha.
help, guys. We need to change this side. So gray area does not exist anymore if you take your responsibility properly. If you are willing to hold that responsibility and say, this is my device, I'm responsible for everything that relates to it. And IT, do you think they will be worried or concerned or wouldn't like that? It will be their joy, because now they have a single point of contact, not any customer, not millions of people asking them questions and requesting different requests. Every time it's a different request. Now it's just channeled through Biomed. Anything related to a medical device, it has to come from Biomed, period.
Yeah. So do all of your techs, do they have the ability to set that up, or do you run it through one technician or maybe one admin, or how does that work?
What do you mean?
So if you have technician Joe, Amy, and Frank, can Frank call IT? Can Amy call IT and set up that device or make those changes? Or
Biomeds, yeah.
okay.
Any of the Biomed. We're just like any other customer to IT.
How do you
They know
document?
we have work orders in
Okay.
our CMMS system, and we submit actually a ticket in Snow. They have the ServiceNow platform. So we do submit a ticket and we reach out to them saying, we have a ticket and we need your help to configure this. So this is how we work, as simple as that.
Very good. Very good. And do you guys collaborate on your reporting as far as cybersecurity and, any concerns that come up? Do you guys work together when that occurs?
We're in the process of evolving the cybersecurity world. We are not where we would like to be. We are definitely cooperating and coordinating. We have regular meetings with information security. We have open communication. If they receive something, they notify us. If we receive something, we notify them. We work very closely together, but we don't have a robust solution for cybersecurity. And at HIMSS, we had a huge focus on cybersecurity. We've learned a lot, and even the biggest organizations in the nation, they're still trying to figure this out. So we were able to get some best practices and what we can do the best to move forward. But it's going to be a good adventure going forward.
Yeah, I imagine so. And it's changing all the time, right?
Yes, it is evolving.
Evolving and new issues come up and even bringing in, how do you handle loaners at your department? Is IT involved when you're bringing in loaner equipment?
No,
Are
no,
you guys?
IT, it's purely in purchasing and biomed. And we're looking also on improving that process, because today we have some gaps in finding the devices, and we're looking for best practices to implement. But IT has nothing to do with loaners now.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the concern, with patching it into the network. Do you guys, if it's a device that needs to be patched into the network, is that when IT comes on board, new equipment? How does that work?
Yeah, so for loaners, usually we don't connect loaners to the network
Okay.
unless it was specifically brought in for a specific uh, need, and the connection is a must. Then it has to go through all the process of like a new device. So the new device, it passes through a process we call TRE with information security. Regardless of anything that's coming into the organization, it has to go through information security. Even if we see or request a device and we see it coming and we know it didn't go through IT's uh, technical review evaluation, we will stop it and we will call them, because we, as much as we ask them to be vigilant and involve us when someone requests something directly from them, we're
Mhm.
doing the same on our side, that any device, it has to be approved by IT. And we usually try to make our best that even if it's not connected to the network today, but it has the capability of being connected, we want
Right.
to make sure that IT is aware and they clear it up. Sometimes that process can take time, because approving a device to be connected to the
Mhm.
network, it requires the technical expertise from the vendor side to give our IT folks the required specifications and the permissions they're needed, and then they have to evaluate that and give permissions based on that.
And how are your end users involved? Are they aware of the collaboration between IT and Biomed? Who do they call when they're on the floor if they have, which they perceive an IT issue? How does that work out?
Um, so to the first question is, they are not aware, and for a good reason. We don't want them to be aware. We don't want them to be worried and thinking how it's happening. Is IT doing this? Is Biomed doing this? For them, it should be a complete package delivered and you're good to go. Everything has been cleared. Now for service requests, uh, sometimes they submit requests using ServiceNow to IT for a Biomed ticket. And then
Mhm.
IT would call Biomed, and then we will take care of it, because, as I said at the beginning, we are event driven. So we wouldn't call the end user and tell him, please submit a ticket, and then we will respond. We will go take care of it. We will open a work order on our side and document our work. If the other way around happened, if they called Biomed or submit a ticket to Biomed and it's an IT issue, we will reach out to IT and we will inform the end user that, hey, this is an IT issue. We informed them if you would like to submit a ticket, so you can follow up on that.
Yeah, that's great because that's what happens, right? That's where a lot of the confusion lies within the hospital
Yeah,
is when the end user has an issue, right? Who do they call? So that's great. You
yeah.
guys figured that out.
We tried to streamline this, and um, definitely at one point, um, 4 or 5 years ago, if you would call IT for a biomed issue, they would say it's not our job, hang up. And if
Mhm.
you call biomed for an IT issue, it's not our job, hang up. But as we discussed, and again, as we communicate together, we develop that relationship that we want to serve our customers. We don't want to say, go figure it out. I mean, a call was received by someone, let's take care of the customer. So we communicate internally to address that.
That's great. That's great to hear. I think that's a message that can be really shared to our viewers and our listeners, is that just making that one call and then work amongst each other, right? To
Yeah.
figure out how to best serve the customer and the patient. Because I myself, I'm not very IT driven as far as sometimes I get confused. Would that be an IT issue on that pump, or is that a biomed issue, or my computer's not connecting right? Like, who do I call? And they're in the midst of patient care, so they need to be serviced
Yeah.
and customer service, right? So we're coming to the end, and I really appreciate you being with us today. And I'm sure our viewers are going to get a lot of information. But right now, I'd like to give you an opportunity to give us your own words of wisdom around, in a sentence or a couple words, between biomed and IT. What are those words that you could hang your hat on?
Well, thank you so much. That was really nice and interesting. Words of wisdom. I'm not the wisest person, but from that for that topic, just the main point is communicate. You will be surprised how much you can get across and how much you can evolve if biomed and IT communicate and evolve and develop that relationship between them. We have an ultimate goal, both of us, is the patient care. Uh, the lack of communication will make us doubt each other. Just communicate, work together, um, and if there's anything I can help with, I'm more than happy. Please feel free to share my contact information, Sherelle, and just focus on the patient.
Exactly. So I like that. Let's finish that word with communication. And I really appreciate your time today. And I'm sure I'll see you again soon at a conference on the road somewhere.
Thank you, Sherelle. Nice seeing you.